It is the 1st of February of 2024. We are a little more than a week out from Super Bowl 58. Kind of sad to see the season coming to an end, but man, we got quite the matchup. I know it wasn't the matchup that all of us football fans wanted to see, but from a football and an X's and O standpoint, this is quite the elite matchup between two masterclass head coaches and signal callers, and then of course one of the greatest quarterback that our generation and potentially the league has ever seen. So a lot to look forward to in Super Bowl 58. If you don't know who we are Statletics. We love breaking down the big games. We lean a little bit into the analytics and our model projection to make inferences about games. And of course, we love to sports bet a little bit here and there. Before we dive into the game, Brendan, how are you doing, man?
Dude, I'm doing great. I can't wait for this game. It always sucks it's 2 weeks away. So we
Yeah,
get a week where we're like, oh, the game's this week. No, it's not.
yeah. I
It's
know
a
they
whole
make us
nother week,
wait.
but
It's a tease. It's a
it's a
little
lot of
tease.
time to prepare and think about it. And it feels like football season in totality just started and now it's over. Now we got to wait a
I
really
know.
long time for it. So I'm ready to
6 months.
go though.
We
Let's
got it.
let's get it.
All
Hmm.
right, all right, all right. Well, no wasted time. This show, we're going to talk about the game, break down what we think is going to happen, how we think each team can win and beat the other team. Next week, we will do a prop shop show. Well, Brendan and I will shoot the shit. We'll do stuff like color of the Gatorade, the heads or tails, and
Red.
then we'll do like link to the national anthem, just fun stuff like that. Like we love the Super Bowl and everything goes into it. So be looking for that next week. But the big game, the Super Bowl between the Chiefs and the 49ers. And I'll just start off hot with what the model says. The model actually has us Chiefs minus zero point 0.5. Crazy enough. 49ers are 2.5 point favorites now, climbing a little bit, which is
Hmm.
kind of crazy considering normally we kind of save some of the betting splits and stuff for later, but I wanted to bring this up just because it's kind of too polarizing to not talk about off the rip. 73% of the bets are on the Chiefs right now. 67% of the money is on the Chiefs. So albeit the public is steaming up the Chiefs right now, books are pushing the number in favor of the 49ers. However, if we talk about it, Patrick Mahomes is 10-1-1 against the spread at the past 12 games. And the 49ers are not favorable when they're favorites. But maybe they reversed the curse last week when they came up against the Lions. I don't know.
Golly.
But looking at this game, there are a couple ways, couple holes in each team that I think both of these other teams can attack them. And so one of them being the rushing game and one of them being pass rush. I see kind of like two lopsided there. But before I get into any of the numbers and the matchup breakdown, Brendan, what's your gut reaction to this line? And how do you feel about it? Who are you going to take?
Well, the line doesn't make any sense, like you were saying, moving in the opposite direction of where the money's going. And that just makes us think like what do we do, it's like we should really just ignore it, I feel like, honestly. But
Yeah,
I think everyone would know at this point, if you're listening every week, that I definitely do not want the Chiefs to win and Patrick Mahomes to win. I think McCaffrey deserves one, Shanahan deserves one, that whole team does. It's a perfect all-around team almost. But not to jump to the end here, but I do think that the Chiefs are going to win
do
this
it.
game. You just can't bet against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in this game. That duo
Yeah,
together is probably the most powerful duo ever in football, because Mahomes can do literally anything that Andy Reid wants, and he has the, if not the best, one of the best offensive minds ever. And my
dude.
gut
I will say
reaction. I
this.
mean, yeah,
Yeah, you. It sounded like Chiefs +2 was your gut reaction,
that's the gut
but
reaction.
the okay here the model is seeing a couple things. One of them being so it's kind of like these teams are like complement each other really well. 49ers, they're first overall in offensive EPA margin. Chiefs are 11th. Now, on defensive EPA margin, the 49ers are 12th. Chiefs are 6th. And so it's kind of like they're kind of opposite of each other on both sides of the ball, even though they're top 12 units, regardless. So you can't say there's like a lacking there of offense or defense, but that's what the model's saying. That's why it's so close, I think. Both of them are just, it's hard to model them to you, especially with the momentum that they've gained into heading into the Super Bowl from the playoff games. And I think that's what the model's picking up, and why the Chiefs are kind of favored a little bit, is the model's seeing momentum and them kind of pick up their game, at least on the offensive side of the ball, comparative to a lot of their regular season performance. So I think that's why we actually see the Chiefs slightly favored in the model. Now, again, it's a simulation, so it's almost like saying it's a coin flip. 50% of the time the Chiefs win, 50% of the time the 49ers win, and the score averages out to 22-22. And it's 22.7 in favor of the Chiefs. But the thing that stands out to me the most, though, and concerns me for the Chiefs, is you can beat them running the ball. And that's why I was so dumbfounded last week when the Ravens running backs only combined for 6 carries.
Gosh.
I was like, how? Because you look at it, the Chiefs, the Chiefs' defensive success rate for the rushing game is 25th in the league. You can have success in the run game against their defense. Now, the problem is that, you kind of need your passing game to open up some lanes a little bit. And, these teams, you try to get in a rhythm and you can't do anything. The Chiefs' defense is actually phenomenal. They're third overall in passing success rate allowed. It's hard to pass. I mean, L'Jarius Sneed is having a career year right now. He's a dog. Spagnolia is just ripping it up on the defensive coordinator side of things. But you can run on this defense, and I think that's what San Francisco is kind of smiling about in essence, because of course the run game's really strong. They are second overall in rushing success rate in the entire league. So this McCaffrey behind this 49ers team, that's the big matchup they have circled, obviously. Now, will Brock Purdy be able to open up the passing game to help feed that rushing game some success? That's the big question. That's where we see a little bit of a drop down from what the model says.
Yeah.
Because, man, this Chiefs defense, they're hard to throw on. But if anybody could do it, it feels like a receiving core as strong as the 49ers could do it. There's mismatch nightmares everywhere. You have Ayuk, Debo, Kittle. I mean, you can't guard all 3 of them.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Let's start with that. Let's start with how the 49ers offense can be successful against the Chiefs defense. And what do you think that the 49ers are going to come out and try to do?
I think for me, if I'm the 49ers, I'm going to, because, contrary to the rest of the league, everybody's kind of adopted this pass first, pass centric type of offense. And Kyle Shanahan, he's stayed true to his run scheme. It's second to none in the league, really.
Mm-hmm.
He's been one of the best guys at drawing up plays in the run game on the offensive side of the ball since I can remember, since his Atlanta Falcon days. He had Devontae Smith, of all people, shredding people in the run game. So I think they're obviously going to come out there and be like, this is a McCaffrey game, we're going to pound the rock, but they're going to have to utilize play action. And the thing that worries me with the Chiefs is, or I think that the 49ers are also smiling about, is the Chiefs, albeit they have one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league, if not the best. Well, I mean, you have Aaron Donald, but they don't do a great job of generating a pass rush. So Brock Purdy will theoretically have time on stuff like play action. And so it's not like he's going to have to get rid of it quick, where it kind of felt like that in the first half of the Lions game. And, we can look at it across the board. Excuse me. George Karlaftis, pressure rate of 8.9%, 53rd overall edge in the game. Michael Dana. Oh, and they lost Minihue, too. 1.5 or 6.3% pressure rate. That's 76th in all edge rushers in the league. Chris Jones, 12.2. That's actually first overall in the league in pressure rate. So obviously that's great. But then you go over and you have Derek Nottie, 1.8% pressure rate, inside defensive lineman, 57. So unless Chris Jones just has a career day, I think they will have time in the pocket to throw. I think Brock Purdy will have time, and that concerns me. But the secondary has been so good that it hasn't really mattered.
Right. Yeah, I agree
You
with
know?
that. It's going to come down to those matchups on the outside, even if he does have time.
Yeah.
I wanted to point out in the playoffs, the Chiefs have only given up in 3 games. The average is 209 passing yards a game. And if the 49ers only
Mm-hmm.
have 200 passing yards, they will not win. They will not win. They have to have more
Well,
than that.
I
Look,
see. It's
I think they should
interesting.
hand. I think they should hand the ball off 35 times in order to win
Yeah.
this game. It's going to come down to
So
the running game on either side. But
I want to like flip the script a little bit too, because the model is actually showing a significantly lower total in the game because it thinks both teams are going to go out there and run the football.
I agree.
To attack the 49ers, I mean, you can also attack their rushing game. They're actually worse than the Chiefs in overall defensive rushing success rate. They're 30th in the league. You can run on this team. Now, I need to put a disclaimer on these numbers too. Some of the ranks are lower because sometimes teams just can't run the ball. They get down so much that they have to abandon the running game. So take that with a grain of salt, but still, it's not like they're sporting a top 10 defense in terms of rushing success rate allowed. So the model sees this game as a slower pace because they think both teams are going to go in there and start running the ball. Now, the Chiefs have a good run game. They do, especially when Isaiah Pacheco is healthy. And we saw that in the Bills. All they did was run against them. But some of the advanced metrics kind of concern me because looking at the Chiefs' offensive success rate in the rushing game, they're 28th overall in the league. And the 49ers are actually pretty good at stopping it. They're second. So, will I have more faith that the 49ers run game is going to have more success than the Chiefs run game. The problem is that you have Patrick Mahomes. So it's like, even if your run game is not successful, you're still working with the best quarterback that the game has seen potentially.
Right.
Not named Tom Brady.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the rushing game is going to be successful. I mean, just some recency stats here. The 49ers gave up 136 rushing yards against the Packers, 182 against the Lions. I know the Lions are one of the best rushing teams in football, but recency has shown if they watch any tape, like, I think they'll be able to run the ball on the 49ers. And I also think that that'll open up the pass game for Mahomes and Kelsey. Another thing, this is just one game, but Laporta last game when he played the 49ers had 9 catches for 97 yards. And I mean, Kelsey's been so hot in the playoffs, and it's so chalky to say, but like, how is he not going to eat? Like, how's he not going to eat?
Here's the other concerning thing too. I'm glad you brought that up. The 49ers predominantly, over 50% of their defensive plays are running cover 3 or cover 4 to some capacity. And for the Chiefs, so back when they had Tyreek Hill, they loved when they went cover 0, cover 1, because then they would just let Tyreek go loose. But now, with Travis Kelsey, dude eats in zone coverage. Nobody finds the void in the zone better than Travis Kelsey and Patrick Mahomes working together. So this defensive matchup screams Travis Kelsey. Screams it. Now, hopefully maybe Fred Warner can step up a little bit and keep up. But man, I agree. Like, Travis Kelsey will have a day. Now, if they can keep it under, a certain range of, yards allowed, like, and if they limit the explosive plays in the passing game, I think the 49ers would be fine to continue to let up on, 5-yard stick routes to Kelsey. But that does concern me because it's a juicy matchup, especially when you highlight the Kelsey versus this San Francisco 49ers zone defense. The Chiefs predominantly run a lot of like cover 0, cover 1 type stuff. They love to pressure the quarterback. But with, again, we come back to this, so with guys like Ayuk, Debo, Kittle, McCaffrey, and this offensive line is incredible on the 49ers side of the ball, so they can handle the rush relatively well from what I've seen via the eye test. Somebody's got to get loose. So, and it's not like the argument that Purdy is only a game manager, I can see certain sides to that, but at the same time, we can't ignore what Purdy has done. You know, Purdy led the NFL in touchdown rate at 7%, passer rating at 113, at QBR at 72.8. I mean, he utilizes everybody. He's like a ball distributor masterclass. He set an NFL record in averaging 9.6 yards per pass attempt during the regular season. That's insane. You know,
do you agree
NFL
though?
record for that.
Do you agree that the last 2 games, 6 out of the 8 quarters, were pretty shaky for him? I understand that, like
Sure,
like they had like, yeah, that's my statement. And I
mean,
in this big game against that hard-nosed defense that Spagnuolo plays, like if they can get any pressure, and if the 49ers can't run the ball, they're done. Like they're done. I think they will. I don't think this is going to be a great Purdy game.
I mean, on the contrary, we could talk about the defense. Kansas City Chiefs finished number 2 overall in scoring defense during the regular season. They gave up only 17.3 points per game. That was the best mark for Kansas City in more than 2 decades.
That's crazy.
Where their opponents only scored 28.5% on defensive possessions while averaging 1.5 points per drive. That's crazy. So this is like one of those things where it's like immovable object meets unstoppable force. And I think what for the 49ers, you know, you mentioned that, I get it. His last, 6 of those last 8 quarters are not sexy. You know, they were not that good. But the fact that those 2 quarters were the most recent ones, you know, we talk about momentum, man. Like he's riding that high into the Super Bowl. That's kind of, you can't ignore that either.
No, you can't.
But it kind of boils, like, I hate to oversimplify things because so much goes into the game of football, but it kind of comes down to, it's like, what matters more? Like the generational talent at quarterback working with, outside of Travis Kelce, like a bunch of mid guys, or this one, I don't want to call Brock Purdy mid. I think he's better than mid, but this one mid quarterback working with just a slew of all-stars that complement him really well, who are all healthy.
Yeah.
So it's like,
if you compare those two,
which one is better?
If you compare those two, I would lean towards Mahomes with a bunch of mid dudes with Andy Reid. If we're just comparing those two together, that's what I would say. But Shanahan's great too. So
yeah, can we mention that this is a world-class game between the 2 play callers?
Yeah, like it's insane.
Nuts. And I kind of think it's going to, like, it's one of those things where these guys are so brilliant on the offensive side of the ball, they're going to be able to, like, counter each other on the defensive side of the ball. And it's one of those games where it leans towards the under just because it's like a stalemate at some point. I don't know. I am so excited about this game, but I know how I feel about a certain team. And for me, it's all about the narrative when we come into this. We have Andy Reid potentially retiring after this year. We have Kyle Shanahan who comes in, who's like, the pressure has to be just immense for Kyle Shanahan right now.
Yeah.
The guy, all he did was blow leads the past 2 Super Bowls he's been in. He was the offensive coordinator for the Falcons-Patriots game. RIP. Oh. And then when he faced off against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid 4 years ago, he had a lead and gave it up. So it's like, it's kind of the narratives as you come into here, like who handles that pressure better, And I mean, do you think maybe, I don't know. What do you think here?
Go ahead. That's good.
I'm asking you, like, who do you think can handle this pressure better? Who do you think even has less pressure? I'm guessing Andy Reid. He's coming in here like he's retiring. He's already won his handful of Super Bowls.
I think Big Red. Right? I think Big Red feels no pressure, like ever. Yeah, he just shows up. True. I think he feels no pressure, and that little nugget about him possibly retiring at the end of the season, that's non-quantifiable vibes right there that no one would really talk about, and that just makes your players want to get up and finish this one. I mean, Chris Jones is old as dirt. Maybe he retires after they win. I think all the narrative lines up for Big Red and Patrick Mahomes to come out here and win another one. They've been in, what was it, 4 of the last 5 Super Bowls together, which is absolutely insane. And
Yeah.
that's where I see the narrative at. I mean, we've talked about X's and O's a little bit and how teams can beat the other one. I do think that it leans towards the under because I just think that the way to expose both these defenses is to run the ball.
Yeah,
Especially the
it
Chiefs.
is.
But
I think both teams are going to lean in heavily into the running game. Last thing I want to touch on too, I mentioned the Chiefs' lack of ability to generate pressure against a quarterback.
Mhm.
The 49ers have the opposite. You know, they have a really strong defensive line.
Mhm.
Now, Chase Young has not lived up to certain expectations, but he's been fine. In fact, if we go across the board, Nick Bosa, he has a 12.7% pressure rate, edge number 9 overall in the league. Chase Young, 10.9% pressure rate, edge number 19 in the league. Javon Hargrave, 8.2% pressure rate. That's good for the 7th best inside defensive lineman pressure rate in the league. Arik Armstead, 7.0% pressure rate. Inside defensive lineman rated number 16. So all of these guys are top 20 at their respective position and generating pressure against the quarterback. So now this Chiefs offensive line is good. It is. You know, albeit still waiting on the status of Joe Tooney. He's been injured. He was out last game. So we'll see if he comes back or not. But overall,
they handled it against the Ravens without him.
Yeah, they definitely did. So, you know, great point there, but it's something, you know,
it is something.
It's something, you know, Nick Bosa isn't Jadeveon Clowney, you know, they're
right.
A little bit better talent on the 49ers side of the ball. So, but like I said it when we opened the show up, this is truly a phenomenal game from a strictly X's and O's like football perspective. It is awesome. And I think it'll truly go down to the wire. And I absolutely think the 49ers will go home with a dub this time.
No
I think Shanahan breaks the curse. I think Shanahan breaks the curse, lives in the pressure, was made for the moment, and I think they get a dub. I think Brock Purdy goes out there, and I mean, this may be wishful thinking, but I actually think that their run game is built better than the Chiefs. They're going to, with both teams struggling to defend the run, I think they're going to go out there, they're going to get up, control the clock, and just work. Now, they may get down, fine, but I think they can absolutely get themselves right back into it. We saw them do that with the Lions. Now, it's going to be a tougher task on the Chiefs' defensive side of the ball. But if Kyle Shanahan doesn't break away from his game plan, he'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be fine. Now, if he steps away from it and tries to do some off-script stuff, then I think things can get a bit hairy. And I have to say, my concern is I think Andy Reid is obviously the vet. He's, you know, made for the moment. He's been in this moment more often than Kyle Shanahan's been. So from a composure standpoint, I favor Andy Reid on that sideline. But I just think there's too much talent on the 49ers side of the ball for them to not be the ones that I pick to win here. You know, it's almost like all matchups are the same, you know, defensive ratings and offensive ratings wise. And I just think that the 49ers are going to go in here and exploit a bunch of mismatches on the offensive side of the ball. But we'll see, man. I mean, this is crazy because I do love the fact that this is the Super Bowl that we got now. The more and more, at first I was kind of upset that, you know, the Ravens and the Lions didn't make it because that's the game that America wanted to see. But from an X's and O standpoint, this game is freaking awesome.
Yeah,
this is going to be incredible.
There was going to be no bad matchup with the last 4 teams. So you've got the 49ers taking this one home?
I got the 49ers winning, baby.
All right. Well, then we're going to have to
do
the last beer bet of the season then.
One final beer bet, man.
I think the Chiefs are going to win this game, and for everything that I said, but I also want to mention that obviously I want the 49ers to win. I want the 49ers to win this game, but in big games like this, whenever I are to bet on the team that I want to win, when it's pretty even, it never works out. So I'm gonna have to go with the team that's been there, the more veteran coaching. He's got Jesus at quarterback. I don't like him, but Taylor Swift gets
You
a
don't
ring.
have to like him. You just got to respect him, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs here.
You can't go wrong either way. Anybody that thinks they can tell you who's going to win this game with conviction is wrong. Anybody that is like, oh, I 100% think this team's going to win. No, they don't. It is truly a coin flip in my eyes, you know? And I think Vegas is giving 49ers the hook for just because from a modeling and simulation standpoint, they probably think the 49ers have the edge just with their talent on the offensive side of the ball, but it's not. It's a coin flip. Don't be fooled.
I can't believe they're giving Patrick Mahomes 2 points. Like that's insane. I mean, it should be a pick 'em. I mean, if you just asked me, like, there's nothing on either side that you could actually.
This reminds me of the Super Bowl between Brady and Mahomes when the Bucs were favored by 2.5, and then it climbed to 3.5, even though everybody was taking the Chiefs. Everybody was. Do you remember that? We said the same thing. We're like, I can't believe Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are the underdogs here. And then Tom Brady just beat the shit out of him.
Tom Brady, bro.
I mean, I'm not going to make that same comparison. Yeah, that is true. That is
Tom Brady, bro.
I mean, hindsight's 2020 though. I do remember that. Everybody was like, "Why are the Chiefs not favored? You know, they're 100% the best team in football." But
that was about the worst matchup. That was about the worst matchup. Like, who do I want to lose more, Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes? Like, both. Yeah, I can't decide there.
Well, it's funny because at that time, everybody was like pro Patrick Mahomes. You know, it's really just this past year, maybe year and a half, where people have kind of villainized him to some capacity.
He's a loser. I've always thought that. He's a loser.
Well, you better hope that loser's a winner come next Sunday.
So. I hope, brother.
Yeah. All right, guys. Hey, we appreciate you tuning in. We will be back here next week for our Super Bowl prop shop. We're going to do a bunch of stuff like color the Gatorade, coin toss, all of that stuff. So we like to have a little fun. Of course, it's the biggest game of the year. But, guys, we appreciate you watching. And as always, I'll talk to you guys next week.